Stephen, do you get perms, Stephen?
A what?
A what? Yeah, and that is the only appropriate response to that question. What?
Mike, or the picture over Mike's shoulder is the kid from the Texas game that they panned in on this weekend. He's got this perfect head of hair. But there are high school and college kids, dude, that are getting perms. When you and I were growing up, and Mike and Phil, if we got a perm, we got our ass beat.
Correct. That went away all of a sudden.
Apparently, you can do that now.
I didn't even know what a perm was.
I didn't either.
I remember my high school girlfriend mentioned it once, and I'm like, I don't know what that is, hon. You don't know what a perm is? I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's
got a haircut.
Grandma. That's what. Yeah, she's got to go.
That's like it's like what my aunt got. Yeah, like my aunt got a perm and put like cucumbers on her eyes because it made the swelling go down. That's what I was told, at least.
Right.
I think she was just hungover, but who knows? You know.
See, when we're talking about Stephen Garcia, he reeks of masculinity. He would not. There's nothing metrosexual about Stephen Garcia.
No,
he's an alpha
male.
Not.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good on the perm and all the other. I'm not going to say the word. I don't want to get y'all canceled or anything, so I'm not going to say it. But
we'd have to cancel ourselves. We're not going anywhere.
Okay, yeah.
Stephen, when you were hungover, when you were living with Pat, when you were hungover, did Pat ever walk in and see you with cucumbers on your eyelids to make the swelling go down?
Well, here's the thing, man. I don't know if it's a curse or a blessing, but I don't get hungover, man. It's kind of wild. The last time I was hungover was my first official visit to South Carolina, and I had the breakfast with Coach Reeves and Coach Spurrier, my parents at the inn at USC, and dude, that was the worst thing. I said, I'm never letting this happen again. So I don't know. It's I don't do the hangovers.
One statement, one question. A, whose responsibility was it to allow you to be hungover? Who did you who hosted you that weekend? And here's the statement: David Reeves was probably hungover too, so it's okay.
Oh, there's no doubt. You remember Ike Crowfoot, right?
Oh, very well.
Oh yeah.
That was he was my host.
That's not surprising.
Yeah, it was a long night. It was fun as hell though.
Well, you ended up at Carolina. It all worked. Yeah. Had you not showed up, they would have never beaten Alabama and never won the East. And
you never know what could have happened, man. Never know.
A lot of other things. All right, man. Let's maximize time. Are you getting on the boat today? So I don't want to keep you forever.
Yeah. Okay. We're
right.
But no, we got time. The baby's sleeping, so
okay. All right, good. We'll get to the offense here in a minute because I thought it sucked on Saturday. But let's be honest. You win by 26 points. Oh, where'd he go? Stephen? Whoa.
He went on the boat. He's like, the hell? I'm not talking about that offense anymore. I'm tired.
Oh, he's back. Hold on.
I'll plug him
in here in just a second there.
We started off with Perms, and Garcia was like, nah.
He's like, man. I'm not doing this.
I ain't doing all today.
But yeah, I heard you about the offense and
offense. We're gonna get there though. I want to get you. But hey, look here now. Who cares? Oklahoma's good. They're not good. Whatever. There isn't a soul on this planet that would have believed that the Gamecocks were going to stroll in and walk out with a 26-point victory at Memorial Stadium in Norman, Oklahoma, and they beat the crap out of them, honestly, and probably should have beat them by 20 more points. I mean, Carolina's defense is one of the best in the country. There's no question about that, and they embarrassed the Sooners in the Sooner State this weekend. Pretty incredible.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think it was I forgot who I was talking to. It might have been you guys actually about Oklahoma was down to their second or third string quarterback. All their top 5 receivers were out. So, I mean, it was a recipe for success for South Carolina. So, I mean, I anticipated a full on ass whipping, but I was kind of hoping the defense or the offense rather was going to play a little bit better. But like I've said since day one, it's LaNorris is growing. He's got to just keep improving, every single week. And it ain't easy, but I think guys are starting to, especially fans are like, all right, it's you played enough games now. Let's kind of shore everything up and get everything kind of tightened up. So I don't know.
Yep. No, go ahead.
This might be an awkward take. And I on this show, I call balls and strikes. I'm not, this to me is not like, well, let's go ahead and cover for somebody. So when I say this, it's sincere. I thought in a lot of ways for LaNorris Sellers as passing and seeing the field and anticipating the rush, I thought it might have been his best game. I know the numbers aren't gaudy and, he doesn't make every throw. No quarterback does, but I actually thought he looked like there was a little bit of evolution there, and he was a little more accurate with his throws, particularly underneath. He throws a good deep ball anyway. He wasn't blinded to pressure coming from areas he doesn't expect. I saw progress in LaNorris Sellers on Saturday. Like I said, even though the offense, everybody's upset about the offensive output, it wasn't great. This is not a team that's going to put up sexy numbers, but I actually thought it was a step forward for Sellers.
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like he's definitely seeing the field, like you're saying. I think he's definitely keeping his eyes down range as opposed to that first, the Old Dominion game. He sees the first read, it's not there. He's tucking in and running. And,
right.
Obviously he had, 30 carries that first game. So, yeah, I mean, I think you're 100. I think you're spot on. He's seeing the field a lot better. He's not feeling the pressure, the rush as much. He's not looking at the rush as much. And like I said, I'm very, very, very optimistic on Sellers, and I think he's going to be a hell of a special player for us.
Well,
in the future.
Yeah, but also to add to your point, Mike, they didn't turn the ball over.
Right. Well, that's a big part of it. No fumbles.
Yeah.
Right.
No, just throwing it up for grabs. None of that. I mean, that's a big part of it. Look, you're watching. If you follow the quarterbacks in this league, JC and I talked about this on Sunday. Carson Beck has had a turnover bug. Jalen Milroe has had a turnover bug. I mean, Nussmeier, even in a good performance against Ole Miss, threw a couple of ill-advised picks. So even the best of the best are making mistakes. And if you're not gaudy on offense, very often it's going to come down to making the fewest of those. And so when Carolina loses, you can circle back and look at the fumbles and the picks and say, well, if we would have had those back, we would have won the game. So you're right, Jamie, to bring that up. It's no small detail that he did not have a turnover.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, guys, I mean, to your point, like we were going over all of the young quarterbacks in the league yesterday. I think it was yesterday, right, Phil, or maybe the day before. Mm-hmm. I mean, and you look, Stephen, look up in Knoxville. Like everybody talks about the system that Josh Heupel runs and the talent of Nico Iamaleava, and those two things are absolutely true. It is it's a friendly system, offensively into the quarterback, and Iamaleava is a very talented kid, but he's had a rough stretch here. This isn't the Sisters of the Poor that they played at the beginning. So I do think that this league this year, it's kind of transitioned itself back into a defensive league. And I think when you look at all of the young quarterbacks, all of them, I'm talking about all the redshirt freshmen and all the freshmen that are playing in the SEC, and there is a lot right now that are playing. You can make a legitimate case, and I think it'd be the correct one, that the one who has actually come the furthest from week 1 to week 7 is LaNorris Sellers at South Carolina. What do you think about that?
I completely agree. 100% agree. You got Jackson Dart and Nico. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. And these other guys that were kind of like, some of the favorites to win the Heisman for God's sakes. And, as you mentioned, the turnover bug starts hitting these guys, and, all of a sudden their confidence kind of takes a little bit of a hit. If you look at Sellers, I mean, he's kind of been confident and even keel the entire season, come with the turnovers or without the turnovers. He's kind of just has that even keel kind of attitude. So, yeah, I mean, I think you're 100% right as far as, from week 1 to week 7 now. I mean, yeah, I think he's definitely the most improved and, the most consistent.
And to be clear, I'm just comparing him to all of his peers that are kind of in his same age, freshmen, freshmen, those guys. All right. So, and we'll come back to the defense here in a second. Here was my point on the offense. Okay, Stephen, I 100% understand. You went through this at Carolina. You get a nice lead. Sometimes you want to be careful. Let's not do anything dumb, and let's make sure that we win the ball game. And there's nothing wrong with that. I get it. But when you've got a quarterback that is developing and you have an offense that's kind of trying to find its footing, and in the second half, you have the ball for 17 minutes, you run 31 plays and you get 69 yards, it's not conservative. Like, that's just not good. Like that, for the future of the program to win the games that they're capable of winning, there are so many people concerned with the fact that this could be a historic defense at South Carolina, and I understand their concern. This defense can carry the football team if the offense just has a pulse, and they want to see them develop to where they can have a pulse that will get them through the month of November. So the second half was it just wasn't good. It just wasn't. It just is what it is. It just wasn't good. But to Mike's point, when it comes to the development of the quarterback, I 100% agree. I think he had his best day. I just feel like they could have helped him and Rocket Sanders in the second half of that game the other day kind of establish themselves as the focal points in their development.
Yeah, no, I think you're 100% right. And, we've talked with Pat on the show and talked with you guys and really anybody who covers South Carolina. I mean, it's almost like the LSU game. Like when you have these guys on the ropes, that's when you put the pedal to the metal and you kind of insert your will. And for some reason, I don't know why we didn't do that in the second half against Oklahoma. I think you're 100% right. I think with a young quarterback and a young, kind of offense, let those guys go out there and play, man. Let them put up freaking 70 points. Let them put up 60. These other teams will do it. Oklahoma would do it to us if the roles were reversed. So, I mean, I think you're 100% right. And that's what I do kind of hate about not only football, but society in general. There's no, everyone's just trying to be friendly and nobody wants to offend anybody. It's like,
killer
hell with that, man. Yeah, you gotta like we're here to beat your ass. Like that's what we're here to do. Because I know if the roles are reversed, that's what you guys would try to do to us.
Wasn't that kind of the point in the swamp in 2010? Like, we're going to embarrass them. Y'all knew you were in charge of the game.
Yeah.
And you didn't let up. It was, I mean, when you killed the kid on the goal line, wasn't that for the 29th or 30th point of the game? I mean, there was nothing Florida could do, and you were still going to truck that kid and then let him hear about it, right?
Absolutely. People still ask me what I said. It's still too early for me to say that.
But I thought that's where to continue to make the point. They have said after multiple times, we were very confident in our defense, and Dowell, according to Cole Kubelik on the broadcast, told him before, hey, I got no problem going conservative if our defense is in control of this game. Well, that's fine. But the game was like they weren't coming back. Oklahoma, they couldn't do anything to move the ball. I mean, it was a train wreck.
The first couple of minutes. I mean, it got off to a crazy start, and you're 100% right. They stood no chance of making a comeback to that game.
So that's my point. Like, why would you not somewhere late in the second half try to open this thing up, and knowing that if you do make a mistake and so what? It comes back to bite you. It's not really going to bite you. Like, it's not going to change the outcome of the game. But let's see if we can do it.
I'll tell you what, man. Spurrier would have had a completely different approach to that kind of situation. If he's going to go conservative, he's going to put the backups in and let them at least get some game reps. But if he's leaving the starters in, we're still doing play action and chucking the Mills down the middle of the field. So, I mean, that's just the difference in the era.
All right, let's go to the defense. Been a long time, probably since your last year, 2011, since there's been a defense like this around here. These guys they get better every week. It's almost scary.
Yeah, they're 100%, in my opinion, the best defense in the SEC. I don't see anybody else even remotely.
I'll second that.
I mean, from the D line all the way to the secondary and everything in between. I mean, these guys are flying around. They're top notch. They're having the most important thing is they're having fun, man. They're out there talking trash, and it's fun to see, man. Especially as an offensive guy and seeing like defensive guys kind of getting fired up and talking some trash. I love seeing it, especially at South Carolina. So yeah, they're definitely carrying the load right now, and it's a good problem to have, especially with the young quarterback.
Mike, I was reading a couple of stats earlier, or Mike and Stephen from what's his name? Phil Steele. And thus far, the Gamecocks have faced the 7th most difficult schedule in college football. Okay. 7th most difficult schedule of the top 10 schedules that have been played, 7th most difficult. And of the top 10 teams in the country defensively in yards per play allowed, Carolina's 9th. in the nation, and they're the only team that shares the top 10. So 7th most difficult schedule in the country, 9th in yards per play allowed. We've seen them against LSU and Alabama and Ole Miss. I think that right there tells you about all you need to know. And you're going into a stretch here. I think the best offense left on the schedule is Clemson, personally. But you are going into a stretch where I don't think any of these teams are as competent offensively as the stretch they went through with the Rebels and the Tigers and the Tide.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. I do think A&M can cause some problemes with their ground game.
Yeah, they can run the football.
I think A&M's quarterback's pretty freaking.
And a healthy Connor Wigman, right? He's healthy now at quarterback. He got dinged up, and
I like the freshman that they had.
He's more dynamic, that buzzword. But I think Wigman gives them the best chance to kind of go far now. The kid behind him is obviously the future. But I think we're talking about how you just mentioned some powerful numbers, Jamie. They're doing that with an offense that has been near the bottom all year long. Yeah. So this is not exactly complimentary football that we're talking about. We're talking about an offense that was before the Oklahoma game that was turning it over left and right, that too many 3-and-outs, too many situations where the offense wasn't helping the defense. So the defense is doing that good statistically against that good of a schedule and without the help that some of these other defenses have with having a great offense. So it's even more impressive when you think about it in those terms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree.
Well, I mean, to add to all that, not to shift this back to the offense, but I'm talking about the strain at times it's been on the defense this season. Do y'all know where South Carolina ranks in college football when it comes to sacks allowed?
It's last, isn't it?
Yeah.
Dead last.
Dead last.
133 out of 133.
133. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of wild. But I also don't know how they record sacks these days. I know we talked about this. I think it was after the LSU game. When the LaNorris, if he tucks it and tries to run, is that a rushing attempt or, you know what I'm saying? If he's tackled behind the line of scrimmage, I don't know how these guys are scoring sacks, because I find that hard to believe that we are dead ass last in sacks allowed.
I wish I would agree with you, bud, but I don't.
I mean, 133. That's insane.
It's pretty rough.
Pretty bad.
Well, I mean, their pass blocking hasn't been good.
No.
We talked about LaNorris taking some that he shouldn't.
But you got 132.
I know. Trust me. I saw that number over the weekend. And I was like, that can't be right. There's got to be somebody in the MAC or in the Sun Belt that's. But look, it's a byproduct of the offense as a whole has just not been a good unit. And I know, for example, I guess you guys might have talked about this already, and forgive me if you have, Seth Luttrell, the Oklahoma offensive coordinator, has been fired. Now, I don't know if Seth Luttrell is a good OC or not. I know he was the head coach at North Texas for a while, did some good things there. There's been at least 3 OCs that have already been fired in the middle of the season. I'm here to tell you, they went ahead and they bumped up their co-OC. That Oklahoma offense without Seth Luttrell is still going to suck.
Yeah.
Because they can't block anybody. They don't have any wideouts. Why? Do you remember how stunned I was when you guys told me, because you heard the news before I did, that they were going to start the other kid over Jackson Arnold? I'm not saying Jackson Arnold's the best thing since sliced bread, but I couldn't believe that they were pulling the ripcord on Arnold when he was healthy. That other kid looked like he had just saw a ghost with Carolina's D. At least Arnold gives you a shot. But my point is that play calling is important, and having a good OC is important. And I have no idea if Dal Loggins is going to be around or what, but I know this much: when an offense doesn't have great personnel and they're still figuring things out, it's not all about the X's and O's. That Oklahoma offense with a new OC is still going to suck. And some of these other teams that fired OCs in the middle of the year are still going to suck. So what I keep an eye on, Carolina getting big time wide receivers in recruiting, you're going to need that. LaNorris is your future. That's your set piece. And getting offensive linemen ready to play in this league and provide more time and provide bigger holes, because it just hasn't. They've been overmatched for a lot of the year.
Yeah, I mean, and I think they have. I think they have a lot of not. I mean, I know we've watched these guys. They're just young, a bunch of offensive linemen who aren't even playing right now. I'm talking about guys who've just recently entered the program, except for Josiah Thompson. But I can't, like, I guess, you know, Stephen, being a quarterback, like, you'll speak to this better than all of us. You can slice it however you want. To Mike's point, I mean, he's dead. You're exactly right, Mike. Like, they've started last year. We attributed a lot of the sack issues to the inconsistency up front, because every week it was a different group of dudes because they had injuries and all that. Okay, well, they've started the same guys through 7 games this year, and that ain't working. And then we've talked about, you know, tight ends, and there have been a lot of whiffs out there, tight ends and running backs, you know, just flat out, you know, quarterbacks who just holding on to the football. You got to get rid of it. You know, just can't hold on. But at the end of the day, right, Stephen, like, okay, it'd almost be better just to have one problem. You know, you got 3 or 4 or 5 problems as to why you're dead last in the country with 32 sacks, which, by the way, Oklahoma is 132nd with 29 because the Gamecocks got them 9 times this past weekend. But, you know, I can that even, like, you're 7 games in. Can it be rectified? What is your experience with? What do you say to that, Stephen? Like, what can they do to minimize that moving forward in the last 5, or can they?
And I don't know. You know, when you got a couple different holes, as you mentioned, it's hard to kind of cover up all of them at the same time. You kind of got to lock in on one situation and try to fix it. You're asking the wrong guy, man. I don't know how the hell you fix multiple problems. That's why I'm not a college coach. But, you know, I think if I was, I would just say, look, we gotta either keep an extra blocker in, you know, or, I mean, I remember Coach Spurrier kind of doing with Mike Davis and some of these other guys, kind of like a little chip block off the end, just for a split second before and, you know, Marcus obviously, but give a little chip shot to the defensive end and then get into your route. So same thing with Pat DiMarco and Wesley Saunders and some of these tight ends, you know, push them, kind of help the offensive tackles a little bit, and then get into your route. Maybe that helps a little bit. I don't know, but there's definitely got to be some fix. I mean, midway through the season, you would hope that those situations are kind of limited at least.
Yeah, I mean, luckily you've got another off week here. I mean, obviously, you know, Flint talks about quick game often, doing quick.
That
but
helps.
I mean, quick game helps, getting him out of there.
If you got a Deebo Samuel, then you can really quick game to death, because he's going to turn a screen or a flare from a 2-yard gain to a 42-yard gain. I don't know if that player exists in this receiving core. I don't see that kind of dude. You know, I'm high on Mazio, but he's not that kind of guy. Like, we've seen some dudes at wideout over the last decade and a half, going back to when you played, Stephen, and at the wide receiver spot. They've got to get some of those guys in. I mean, they just have to. At this level, you can't be an impact offense if you don't have at least one stud wideout. And I have to laugh when I watch Ole Miss play and I see Juice Wells game after game doing next to nothing.
I know.
And I'm like, was it really worth it? was it really worth leaving, man? Because he could have been he would have been by far the primary target in this offense if he just stayed. But he wanted to go where he thought were the greener pastures and greener dollars. And so
I was about to say, those pastures are not necessarily green color wise. It's financially
right
green.
Yep.
Yeah. It is what it is. But yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. You got to have a guy that you can throw a screen route to, that he can take it, 40, 50, 60, take it to the, the end zone. We had Demir Bird, Ace Sanders, Deebo Samuel. I mean, Farrell Cooper. You have these kind of guys throughout the last, as you mentioned, decade and change. And, we haven't really had one of those guys, as you just pointed out. So yeah, I mean, they're hard to come by. It's not easy just catching a screen route and making a couple guys miss it and take it all the way. But we got to figure out a way to find those kind of guys and get them the damn ball.
You just mentioned one of those guys. People might be a little bit interested in the newest Tailgate Talks. Tell us about that real quick. Plug yourself, Stephen. Plug yourself.
I'll tell you what, man. it was Sunday night, and I was with the boys watching football all day. So I had a solid little buzzito going, and we sat here and we were chopping it up, man. You know, Pat was getting bitched at to put his kids to bed, and me and Ace were just laughing our ass off, just telling stories and just kind of. I mean, there was stuff that he told me and Pat that I had no idea what was going on behind the scenes, as far as like in the locker room and stuff with Spurrier Jr. and just kind of the dynamic. Yeah, I mean, it was a very interesting. In my opinion, I thought it was the most entertaining podcast yet, because Ace did not hold anything back. He let it ride, and it was fantastic.
He's a head football coach now in Florida, right?
Yeah, at Bayshore down here in Bradenton, and they are not very good. You want to talk about a pretty crappy offense? I think he said they're 0-7 right now.
Ooh.
But he gave the whole Coach Prime line. He's like, they better get me while I'm down, because these next couple of years I'm going to have these freshmen and sophomore, they're going to be growing up, and I'm going to be recruiting my ass off, and we're going to be putting the hammer down on some folks.
Well, I can't wait to listen to that. Tailgate Talks. It is available on our app. It's also, of course, available on Gamecocks Plus, which is available on our app as well, and anywhere else. All right. So, I mean, we've pretty much hit everything on the offense here, Stephen, obviously, and what we've, kind of everybody thinks that they need to do or not do. I don't know even how to explain it, but they do have 5 games in November, 5, and 3 of them are at home, and then 2 are on the road. Vanderbilt, which it's not an easy win anymore.
No, it's not the same Vanderbilt.
Nope. And Clemson, 4-3. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though, man, like to your point, I think if you were to tell the fan at the beginning of the year that we'd be 4-3 right now, I think they would say, BS on that. And I think that the remainder of the season is pretty optimistic, in my opinion. I mean, we got A&M at home. We got Missouri, who's I've never been a fan of Missouri. I can't stand them, to be honest with you. They don't look like they're a top 10 team anymore, obviously. We got them at home. Vanderbilt, kind of scary. I mean, who the hell knows what kind of Vanderbilt team we're going to run into? And then obviously Clemson, who's kind of firing all cylinders right now. But I mean, I think that the remainder of the season I think we got a pretty decent shot of winning a couple of big games.
I'm with you. I mean, if this was a cut.com bet, Gamecocks making a bowl game, I mean, I'd like 80% minimum, I think, with that schedule. Maybe that's being a little blindly optimistic. I don't know. But I mean, that was, to me, a realistic goal this year. Get to 6 wins, get to a bowl. Don't have too many opt-outs, win the bowl, get to 7, and you're feeling pretty good about things moving forward. A couple of heartbreaking losses in there. You would have loved to at least split those 2, but you still got a chance to do a number of good things in November.
Yeah,
every game in November is more than winnable. I mean, and you talk about LSU, Alabama, 5 total points that separate those between wins and losses. Dan Orlovsky this past weekend said, I don't care what anybody says, he believes South Carolina is a top 15 team. Maybe he's right.
I can't stand that damn guy.
Yeah, but it is nice to get the national guys sometimes who, have paid a little bit of attention.
I get it.
But I understand what you're saying.
He pisses me off to no end. and to be honest, I don't even have a good reason to not like the guy. It's just something about his face.
How tall is he?
No, right.
I think
6'6",
6'7". He's a lurch.
Yeah,
he's a big dude. You can take him though.
Oh, I would beat the brakes off of that damn guy.
Don't worry, we're not going to have him on, so it's all good.
Heavily favored on the cut situation on that one.
What was your celebrity death match? Y'all remember that?
Oh yeah.
You don't have to lay 100 to win a buck on that one. Yeah.
Well, I could think of like 100 people I'd rather see Garcia knock out over Orlovsky. There's plenty of people above him in that list. What was your biggest cut win and your biggest cut loss this weekend?
Man, this was a pretty long weekend. I gotta do some research. I don't really recall making a whole lot of bets, but I know I did. My account's pretty solid. But I'll have to get back with you on that one.
But did you finish in the black or in the red?
Oh, it was black for sure.
Okay. Okay,
So-
good. That's all that matters. You're winning.
It's been a good season, man. NFL not so great, but the college has been solid.
All right. Reminder, you can take on Garcia and anybody else, your buddies. You can bet on politics, sports, whatever. Cut.com.
Politics.
Promo code Gamecocks.
I'm looking forward to the politic one.
Well, yeah, there you go. You could take on Garcia on November the 5th.
Where's Shelly? Where's Shelly
down.
at?
Where is Shelly? We haven't seen. Oh well, it's
that's true.
Private.
Yeah,
We're
there
private
are reasons.
now, so you got to be in the club chief to be able to. Shelly,
You have to sneak in on Twitter. That's the only way to do it.
Don't tell people.
Phil.
Yeah, we could be waking up in 2 weeks, Stephen, with a new president. You know, we should be the way that things are supposed to happen, but you just never know. So, all right.
Either way, it's going to be a new president. We just hope it's the right one.
No. Yeah, well, that's right. But I meant we should be waking up the morning after people vote and have this thing resolved. But you know how those things work sometimes.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how those mail-in ballots go like this. They just jump vertically. We'll see if that happens again. I love getting political, man. I love it.
Dude,
another 10,000.
Yeah.
I'm not far from Fulton County. That could always be a storyline again.
I don't know where they were, but they just showed up today.
No idea. This guy's dead. He's not
yeah,
dead.
that's right.
Yeah, he is dead, actually.
Unbelievable.
That's my grandfather. He died in World War II. Oh, that's interesting. Guess we'll erase his vote. Yeah. Hey, man, love it as always. Really appreciate it. Tailgate Talks out now. I would highly suggest you watch it or listen to it or both, whatever. Pat, Stephen, Ace Sanders. It's an awesome conversation. Enjoy the water today, my man. And we'll do it again next week as we preview the Aggies and the Gamecocks.
Yes, sir. I'll be up there in Columbia next weekend.
I know. I look forward to seeing you.
Oh yeah, that should be fun.
Are you coming to the Hall of Fame on Friday night? Hall of Fame ceremony?
I'm going to try to. Memphis has a game, so I don't know if we're going to maybe leave early as hell Saturday morning or maybe Friday right after. I don't know what we're going to do, but I'm going to try to. Either way, I'm going to be up there. I just don't know when.
Yeah. Pharaoh and Melvin going in alongside Tommy Moody. Pretty cool.
Yep.
Thanks, buddy. Have a good week.